In our culture, everything is based on success. But what is success? Who defined it? Who decided that success was the goal instead of fulfillment? What happens if we shake up that definition? What if we make our own definition of success? My name is Tony Grebmeyer, and on this podcast, I'm going to dig deep into the real stories behind success. Join me as I interview other entrepreneurs who've climbed up Success Mountain and have come back down to share their stories so you can succeed. If you're ready to join a community of other entrepreneurs redefining success and finding fulfillment, go to BeFulfilledLife.com and join the community. Now, let's dive into today's show.
Welcome to Be Fulfilled. It is the real stories behind success. I'm your host, Tony Grebmeyer. Excited today to have a wonderful friend. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's been in the travel, IT, restaurant, and supplement industry. So for a lack of a better word, he's MacGyver. So MacGyver is coming on the show today. Starting his career in the family travel business, he developed an interest in software development and created an accounting system specific to the travel industry. A lot of stuff we're going to get in. Then in 2001, he switched his focus to the supplement industry and had a great startup, brands, consulting, all of that fun stuff. And really his story today that we're going to focus in on started in 2019. He founded HarmoniumHealth.com, his first direct marketing brand. Please welcome James Klein to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Tony. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. As you know, you've listened to some shows, so you know what's coming next. Your definition of success.
On a personal level, I guess the thing that I would want the world to know about me or remember when I'm no longer around is that I equip my daughter with the tools to be successful in her life.
I like it. Okay, personal. I love it. Let's go for professional because I know that there's something probably there. What would you say around that?
I'm driven by success in terms of bottom line, but more importantly, I want to leave customers who give me their trust with a quality experience. And I just want to do business honorably and ethically with everybody I come in contact with.
Those are some really good ways to live life. So I'm excited. Thank you so much for being here today. Man, I literally was reading your stuff. I've known you a little bit and I'm like, where do we start? Right? Like, let's start where you first felt like you dabbled in becoming an entrepreneur. Can you take me back to maybe some odd jobs or things you were doing that really kind of put you in that lane?
I always knew that I wanted to be in business from the time I was young. I enjoyed school, did well in school, but had trouble focusing. I'm sure if I were a kid today, I would have been evaluated as having ADD. Did well strictly on smarts, did the minimum of work. I would lose focus very quickly, but was good enough to make my way through. But I knew that school really wasn't what I wanted to do. Started working at the age of 13. There's a local YMHA, which is the Jewish version of YMCA, that was around the corner from my house. And I ran the men's house league basketball team. I ran the scoreboard. I did a weekly newsletter, et cetera, et cetera. Back in those days, I think minimum wage in Canada was all of $3.25 or $3.50 an hour. But at 13, 14, 15 years old, I felt like a baller because I didn't have to take allowance from my parents. I earned enough money to buy whatever I wanted just from doing that. So I liked the hustle. I liked interacting with people. And it led me to know that I would definitely be an entrepreneur.
I love that. What a great story too. I got a chance to, back when it was just the boys club, similarly, I got a chance to kind of work there and help out and do some stuff. And I found that was like, I've never really talked about it, but that was like really helpful for me growing up to have that kind of support in a different way. Mom and dad always kind of, teach you one way, and it's nice to learn something different. What was a takeaway maybe from your time there that has been with you ever since?
I guess the biggest thing is because it was a community funded organization, I realized the importance of giving and supporting the community. It's actually now known as the Ben Weider YMHA. Ben Weider, from bodybuilding fame and all of that, he and his brother grew up in Montreal and we're very philanthropic, from Jewish community organizations to just sports organizations in general. And I saw what could be accomplished when the community stepped up and supported those who didn't have very much.
And you're all about community. I see you in a lot of Facebook groups and I'm in. I see you go to a lot of the same events. How important is community to you?
Community is pretty much everything. To me, it's a sense of belonging and fitting in somewhere, finding ideally like-minded people. That being said, everybody's entitled to their views, and I don't debate any of the stuff that are just time sucks where you're not going to change anybody's opinion. But the whole sense of community, be it around schools, community organizations, just giving money in general and supporting those who need help, is very important in my life. I learned that from my mother specifically and family in general.
No, I appreciate it. I think there's some really good, valuable lessons too. And it's so cool to hear that the place now is named after a bodybuilder, the fitness guy. Like, you're in the fitness world. That's cool. Community. I see you on, like I said, Facebook groups. And I know that during the unprecedented year that we all went through, how important having community, right? And being a part of something when you couldn't go down the street and hug your neighbor because, gosh, you have the cooties. And if I got the cooties, then I'm going to give the cooties to somebody else. So it took me all the way back when the pandemic happened to being that 4-year-old kid when the girl had the cooties. And if you got closer, she gave you the cooties, right? So now we're here in, 2021 and things are kind of shifting. And I want to talk about the supplement business because the industry and supplements, everybody from most people that I've talked to had a phenomenal 2020 despite all the craziness. But then we've come into supply chain issues. We've come into flavor profile issues. We've come into ethical practices and fulfillment, How has your business done since being founded in 2019?
Well, again, being new to direct response, I entered the space just before COVID. I knew nothing about direct response in any way, shape, or form, other than I had some friends who were working at ClickBank who I had had contact with in a previous life when they were at bodybuilding.com. And they encouraged me to get into direct response because of what Amazon had done to the regular supplement world and destroyed margins. So I made pretty much every rookie mistake that somebody who comes from an e-commerce or brick and mortar background makes when I had never seen a VSL. I had never seen a long form sales letter. I knew what affiliates were, but more from the standpoint of, you can be an Amazon affiliate and earn 2% if you send somebody to a link. I made every rookie mistake. Wrong consultants, wrong copywriters, wrong messaging. And my biggest epiphany happened when you and I met at ASW last year, which is the only industry trade show I've ever been to. And I showed up in Vegas knowing our mutual friend Thomas from ClickBank and nobody else who was at ASW, and got to meet you and Vinny and lots of great people. And one of the most important meetings was getting to meet our mutual friend Amber Spears. And literally in 90 seconds, she diagnosed everything that was wrong with what I was doing and gave me step-by-step instructions on what I had to do to fix my offer and my business to be successful. And she was incredibly intuitive and she was right about everything she said. And the second half of 2020 was certainly better than the first half. It led me to start taking on consulting projects and helping other entrepreneurs in the direct response space formulate and launch supplements in areas that they had never done before. Guys who'd done personal development or ebooks and wanted to add supplements to their business. So I've gotten to meet some amazing people, and I say meet via Zoom. And thank God for Zoom. But it It was a very momentous year. We started the year with my wife having COVID, luckily a mild case, and essentially being on lockdown. Montreal was Canada's hot spot in the beginning, and we had lots of death. And my mom's 86 years old, and I wanted to see her, so I essentially eliminated contact with anybody else. And it's been a year. It was a year like nothing I'd ever lived through before, and God willing, I'll never live through again.
Yeah, you unpacked it a lot. I want to just focus on a couple areas. I'm glad that you got a chance to be with your mom as those older years. It's so important no matter what to spend time with mom. I love the fact that you did that. Glad to hear your wife had a mild case. Yeah, you're in the hot spot. But then backing up to a couple things that I get to unpack and take away. Relationships, are everything, and getting to go to a live event is like nothing that you can explain to somebody. You can tell them until you're blue in the face. It's so nice to see you over Zoom, but when you get to sit and you just feel their energy vibrate, you can't feel that on a Zoom, but you can sitting across from somebody, and you can just have that impactful moment where you're there. And, you meet some people and then you turn and there's Amber, who's dynamic. Amber Spears is literally somebody who I just wholeheartedly believe in. I love her image, her message, everything that she does, but she's really good at seeing the blind spots that you and I can't see, right? I didn't know I had a tire that was, out of alignment or bald. She's like, oh yeah, I see it over here. And you're like, really? I'm like, I'm not looking there. So it's neat to have somebody who's been there and done that, but also just that whole kind of newness. I want to talk a little bit about that, but I want to take a break real quick. I want to talk about it for a specific reason. If somebody's listening right now and you're kind of like transitioning, you're like business and, hey, I've been doing this, I'm transitioning to that. What should I do? How do I do it? I think James is a perfect person to help kind of navigate us down a little bit off a success mountain to get us to where we can have a conversation to help that individual who's looking to transition, because there's never been a better time if you've ever thought about becoming an entrepreneur than now. I really, truly believe today is the right day to make a decision to go all in and gamble on yourself. No matter if you have a day job, no matter if you have been stuck in your life, today is the best day of your life to gamble 100% all in on yourself. So stick around. We'll be right back on today's episode of the Be Fulfilled Show with our special guest, James Klein.
Are you ready to break the mold? So many people seem stuck in society, but you're not one of them. If you were, you wouldn't be listening to this. And I know for a fact that right here, right now, inside you, there's greatness. And a great way to help bring that out is the 12-week journey to fulfillment. So head over to BeFulfilledJournal.com and use the coupon code podcast, and you get a special rate on us. It's our way to say thanks for listening. As well, there's access to a private community of entrepreneurs ready to support you and your business. That's BeFulfilledJournal.com.
Hey, we are back on the Be Fulfilled podcast show. Tony Grebmeyer up and down Success Mountain today with our special guest, James Klein, all the way from Montreal. Having fun. One thing to note, 2019, James launched his first direct marketing brand, HarmoniumHealth.com, and that's HarmoniumHealth.com. If you'd like to learn more, follow along. I asked him before the show, what's the best way to drive people to what he's doing? Check him out. He's also on social media, so follow the guy. He's awesome. Got great wisdom, great insight, all around just a good guy. I loved jumping back into kind of your definition of success, and that's equipping your daughter to help her have what she needs to be super successful in life. I think that is something that a lot of us forget to do, right? So thank you.
Absolutely. It's why I get up in the morning, and it's what keeps me hustling.
So thank you for sharing that, because I want to tie that into being able to really, truly work from home. That's got to be a little bit different too.
I've been working from home since 2004. And my daughter was 4 years old at the time. And it was hard in the beginning to establish a routine. When daddy's in his office, you can go in and say hi, but you can't just come in and, hey, daddy, I need you. Let's play for the next half hour. Once we established a semblance of a routine. I was then able to adjust my schedule to drive her to school or to pick her up or take her to the park or whatever it happened to be. And COVID hasn't hit me on that level as much as it hit a lot of other people who are used to being in a busy office. And all of a sudden they're at home staring into a computer screen 10 hours a day. So that was the one benefit I've had during COVID. I was already used to working from home and having remote
Has it
people.
changed at all for you?
Has
it changed? Because, back when she started, she's 4, now she's a little bit older. Here we are, just life in general. How much more does time matter to you?
Time matters a lot. And what's been difficult is that this past year was her first year in university. And the kids here go to university. The undergrad programs here are only 3 years long rather than 4. So it was the equivalent of her sophomore year in the US. And her goal is to go to med school. And she's in a very challenging science program and literally spent her entire days watching lectures on Zoom and rewatching them, and didn't get to be around friends or do anything social because it was so difficult. She was literally on campus once just to have her picture taken for her student ID. And it just a brutal year from that standpoint. Luckily, she's disciplined and worked really hard and did great. But my heart breaks for what the social aspect has, the way it's been impacted over the last year, especially for kids. The older people will figure it out. But to be 20 years old and not to get to do any of this stuff that new kids do when they go to school, go out and drink beers with everybody and do silly stuff and just be staring at your computer 10 hours a day, it's rough.
No, I agree. I have one son still in university at 20, and it felt like he was, he missed out on a lot of stuff. Like, I call it the stupid stuff that I think you need to go through so you can know what you do want to do and what you don't want to do. Right.
Amen, brother.
And he's 20 and, juggling job and school and all that good stuff. And I think it's really, really important to, I don't want to say get in trouble, but I think you got to scrape your knees a little bit because you got to figure out what you do want versus what you don't want.
Absolutely.
Can you give some insight to the world? As I said right before the break, launching a brand, starting a business, doing some of these things. What's some lessons that have come out of, really doing it for yourself now and in the direct, marketing space? Kind of like, what are some things that you've started to notice, or maybe some patterns that you had to shift and change, or some blind spots that have come up that are super helpful that maybe you could share a little bit today?
I guess the biggest lesson I've certainly learned over the last year is that you need some outside expertise. No matter how smart you are and how driven you are, there's nobody who knows everything. And especially early on, I would look at a piece of sales copy and think it was great. And then I would show it to 3 copywriters and their response would be, no, this is terrible. And here's why. So I've always been very self-reliant and very driven. And my approach has always been, you'll figure it out. But certain things I wasn't able to figure out because I'm not a direct response purchaser. Therefore, I don't know what resonates with somebody who's getting emails every day and clicking and watching a 45-minute VSL. So having access to the right people to bounce ideas off of and help refine what you're doing is absolutely key. And I've done more of that in the last year than I have in my previous 35 plus years as an entrepreneur.
Man, an email in your inbox, click a link, watch a 45-minute video, be suggested that you click the next link, and then you have an upsell stack. Next thing you know, wow. I got to tell you, the first time was I'd say like 98, 99 was like the first time I ever really got hit with an infomercial like in my inbox. And I watched it and I was like, that is crazy. And then the whole industry built around that philosophy, and it still works today. It still helps people on a journey. We're talking supplement talk. So if you're listening, you're like, what are you guys talking about? I'm like, the great thing about marketers, they know how to market to you on every platform, every inbox, Every time you go into a restaurant, every time you leave a store, you're being marketed to. So I'm sharing some stuff that you may or may not know. But James and I are just talking about basic stuff today, and not to confuse you. People like Amber Spears helps to see things in a different channel. Like I always call like Amber, like the information superhighway. You get her on there and she knows everybody and can direct you so you avoid all the pitfalls. And you, the newbie entrepreneur person listening for the very first time about what James and I are talking about, just know this: somebody smarter than you learned how to market to you, and you buy without knowing you need it. The industry is 24/7 that all around us. So our job is to make sure there's windshield wiper fluid and the wipers are going, and you avoid the things you don't and buy the things you do want. I just want to say thank you for being here, being in my life. You've been a fun friend to get to know. It's crazy to think that ASW was like, it seems like it was a lifetime ago.
16 months. It's crazy.
And just knowing that you're transitioning and doing some stuff. Let's talk a little bit about your consulting, because if someone's listening today and tell me, James, what do you do? Talk about consulting. What are you helping people do?
Sure. It was driven by our friend Amber, who saw me answering lots of supplement questions in a couple of Facebook marketing groups and turned to me and said, "You've got 20 years of experience in supplements. Why are you giving information away for free? Why don't you offer your services on a consulting basis?" So I literally that same day created a post in a Facebook group saying, "Hey guys, I'm available for supplement formulation, bringing it to market, etc." Within 48 hours, I had my first client signed. And it's just been a wonderful experience ever since. I've got clients in the US, Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, Indonesia. And these are all people with more experience in direct marketing than I have, but who are new to supplements. And they're trying to add value to their current offers and expand their revenue streams. And it's really been a lot of fun to dig in with them and see what kind of benefits they want to deliver to the consumer, and then how I can help them make that happen as painlessly as possible.
So fitness wise, how long have you been in this industry?
I've been my first 17 plus years in the supplement business were selling to bodybuilders and weightlifters. So a very different industry from direct response. I sold products in gyms, brick and mortar retailers, GNC, Vitamin Shop, distributors. And then with my good friends at bodybuilding.com, who absolutely revolutionized the purchase of supplements online. They built a business. My friend Ryan, who started it in his garage in Boise, Idaho at 18 years of age, built it to a $500 million a year business with 37 million unique visitors per month. Just an unbelievable success story. Right place, right time, certainly.
And the right domain too.
Yes. And he tells a story about how he bought that domain for either 10 or 20 grand. And he was nervous at the time. And it was absolutely the best move he ever made. Their business was eventually sold to the people from Liberty Media out of Denver. And at their height, they hit $500 million. And then Amazon was coming at them at about 8,000 miles an hour, and they didn't see them quickly enough in the rearview mirror. And then Amazon just came in and totally revolutionized supplement sales. From my standpoint, in a negative way, they took away all the brand loyalty, and it became strictly about where can I buy the cheapest pre-workout? I don't care who it's from. I only want to spend $19.99, and I want it at my front door tomorrow.
Right.
And that's sort of what soured me on that space.
Yeah. And the buyer behavior patterns and everything changed. The next thing you know, you're wanting something and it's saturated too. And also, I'm not here to bash anybody, but then they take over specific segments and push all the other people away. So it's not necessarily always friendly. I want to do this because I want to be true to my show and to you. I want to bring you into the fulfillment round. I got people going to your domain, so we'll do that. People know that you have a consulting practice, so you can reach out and talk to James if you're interested. He's got an amazing background, travel, IT, restaurant, supplements, this and that. Thank you so much for being a guest. But what I want to do is bring you into the fulfillment round. No phone a friend. If you don't know the answer, make it up. If you're stuck, guess. All I need from you is I am ready.
I am ready.
And now it's time for the fulfillment round. No phoning a friend, no using the Google machine, no digging into storage for the Encyclopedia Britannicas. And I promise Tony won't make you cry. And if you don't know the answer, just make it up. The fulfillment round brought to you by shipoffers.com for all your product and fulfillment needs. Now, Tony, you ready to ask some questions?
When you get to travel and Montreal opens back up, where are you headed?
My first trip will be New York City for Affiliate Summit East in about 5 weeks. And then San Diego for TNC and Mexico for Mimosa Mastermind. Not sure about traveling for vacation yet, just because things are still a little unsure with the border and everything else. But business travel, I can't wait.
Are you one of those people who would get to another country and kiss the ground to say, man, it's good to be back?
The only place I've ever kissed the ground getting off an airplane was Israel.
Very nice. That's awesome. When did you go to Israel? When was the last time?
1983. I'm way overdue for a return visit.
It's changed a little.
Absolutely. What they've done in the tech world, media buying and all that stuff, they're just incredibly good at what they do. It's a beautiful country, and I'm very much overdue for a visit.
So you mentioned bodybuilding.com. What other brand have you been a part of or associated with in some way that you could share that totally just blew up and was huge?
That totally blew up. My brand on bodybuilding.com was called Ergogenics and did very well for several years until the industry totally changed.
Gotcha. When you are in your office, are you listening to something, music, a book? Do you like peace and quiet?
I usually have my iPad on, playing the news, CNN, MSNBC, just listening to what's going on. And it's part distraction and part I want to know what's going on in the world.
Sure.
And I'm able to do that. And I think it helps me focus on whatever else I'm working on.
No, I love it. I have a little noise machine here. It's just white noise. It helps me to calm my brain down. I love music. I mean, music is such an essential ingredient to kind of like life, but knowing what's going on too is also essential. And when you're not working, what do you like to do for fun?
Good restaurants, golf when my back can handle it. And our season is very short, so I don't get to play as much golf as I'd like. In the summer, I run. I hate it, but I run 6 days a week just because I don't want to be the fat guy who shows up at the trade shows.
Gotcha. Last question for you. The day you are born, and then there's the day you die. In between there is a dash. What would you like your dash to read one day?
Again, it goes back to my daughter and what she does with her life. So ideally, something to the effect of raised a successful, compassionate, empathetic child who does good in the world.
I love it. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, that is James Klein, our special guest today on the Be Fulfilled podcast show. Be sure to check him out online. He's Facebook, all those other great places, but harmoniumhealth.com. We'll put all the show notes at tonygrebmeyer.com. So all you need to do is check it out. Listen to James from time to time if you'd like, but he's got the details and the goods. I made a little note today describing James. Life is golden. Golden rule, golden way of living. James Klein, Tony Grebmeyer. And until next time, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, choose to make today the absolute best day of your life.
Thanks for listening to today's show. But before you go, let me ask you a question. How would you like to be the architect of your journey in this game we call life? Take the next step now at www.tonygrebmeyer.com. Enter your details to get the first week of the Be Fulfilled Journal for free. It includes access to our private community of thousands of other entrepreneurs. It'll give you more clarity and freedom in your day. And it might just change your life forever.